What's going on, everyone? Today I am going to be showing you my Tesladin or dual Dream Paladin. Just a preface for this video, the Paladin or my Paladin is not fully complete in terms of gear. He doesn't have vest and slot everything. He has the basics for what is required for the build, and he does very well at what I need him to do, but there's still a lot of work that can go in to make this a much better character. So with that, let's jump into the build overview and sort of how I have spec'd my character here. So basically starting with stats, like most softcore PVM or player vs monster builds, you would want just enough strength to equip the gear you need. If you are going with max block, you would want enough dex to obtain max block. With a paladin, that's with holy shield as well. Then you also want to pump everything else besides what you have put into dex and strength for gear into vitality to get as much survivability and health as possible. You also don't want to have anything in energy, because your gear will give you more than enough for what you need for this build, and any points in there would just sort of be wasted where they could go into vitality for more survivability. With the gear that I have at the moment, his resistances are good in hull, especially the important ones such as lightning and fire rays. Cold and poison, not as important, and they're still fair. You can definitely get max resistances, but I feel so far up to this point they aren't necessarily needed. So that sort of wraps up his skill point, or not skill point, his stat point investment. And he's only level 85 at the moment. Still busy playing him, leveling him up, and getting some more gear and stuff like that. So then onto the core of this build and what makes this a dual Dream Paladin, or a Tesladin as it's also called, are the Dream rune words that you can see on the helm here and on the shield. So basically in the helm I've put this in a bone visage, and it rolled sort of mid tier, not the greatest, not the worst, but pretty decent. It's got good defense, 24 out of 30 faster hit recovery. It's got 13 out of 20 all resistance and 22 out of 25 magic find. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the helm. The Sacred Targe is a good base to put the Dream Rune word for your shield. And mine rolled averagely on that. I got 25 out of 30 faster hit recovery, got good defense. But the base didn't have the greatest all res, so you can see it's only 42 in total now, and it got 15 out of 25 on the magic find roll. So the important part of this build being a Tesladin or dual Dream Paladin is the Holy Shock aura when equipped that the Dream runeword provides. And this level 15 Holy Shock aura on the shield and the helm, they stack to create a 30 level 30 Holy Shock aura, and this will be where most of your AoE damage comes from with the build. And when you synergize your skills in your defensive auras being resist, lightning, and salvation, that adds a lot of damage to this level 30 stacked Holy Shock aura. And you'll see later when we do some gameplay that this adds a lot of damage, and it's really nice for AoE and clearing a lot of monsters quickly. So just moving on to the gear here, like I said, sort of a preface to this is that the gear is imperfect and it's not the best in slot by any means. And what's great about this build is that you can build it in so many different ways, and the variations from more magic find orientated, more physical damage, or more lightning damage, you can really go to town and do what you like with this, depending on your preferences. And so I've gone sort of a balance between physical damage and the lightning damage at the moment from your aura. And we've seen the two Dream rune words. That those are obligatory, and those have to be used for this build in particular. And I've got a Mara's Kaleidoscope Amulet with 24 all rares, also sort of mid-tier there. The skills stack nicely with the Holy Shock Aura and the all rares for toughness. I have Archon Plate Enigma. I'm using Oath Rune Word at the moment. It's for the runes that are used in it. It's really effective for the price basically, and it works very well. I mean, there's another item that's affordable that's really good for it, which is a Crescent Moon and a Phase Blade, and that minus lightning, enemy lightning resistance is really great. The open wounds are great, and it's just also really good, but the damage for physical doesn't quite compare to an oath. Ideally, you would be looking for a grief rune word. The average damage there is just superior to anything else for a melee class build. And ultimately, I think that a last wish rune word would be great. For the might aura, it gives you the crushing blow, the ignore target defense, the magic find, all of that. It would be the best, but for the rune investment of Jar, Mal, Jar, Sir, Jar, Bear, it's just way too much. So I think a grief ultimately is a good balance for this build, and that's what I will probably be using. And one day, if I end up being rich enough, a last wish would be perfect, but you know, that's in a perfect world. For gloves, laying of hands, the increased attack speed, the damage to demons, the fire is, they, for a melee based character, they are probably the best gloves to use for PVM. They are great. I mean, I could always switch these out if you wanted. Dracs for the life tap, for more survivability, also the open wounds and the life stolen on hit. But also with the confuse when struck that is cast with Dream, that can overwrite your life tap. So it's it's not as effective as it could be, but basically just for damage laying of hands is just ideal. Then Gore Rider boots, yeah, I've actually got a perfect set. I'm going to switch those onto the character. The Crushing Blow, the Deadly Strike, the Transfer Open Wounds for a melee character, they're great. You could also use War Traps and get a bit more MF. For the Bolt at the moment, I'm using a String of Ears just for the survivability and the life stolen, because I don't have that anywhere else on my character at the moment. Then a Ravenfrost for the attack rating, the dex, the cannot be frozen is the most important part. The cold absorb is nice as well. And then yeah, I've got a faster cast rate, attack rating, strength, lightning res, poison res, ring. Basically, I would like a dual leech ring with some nice other modifiers as well. Still looking for one of those. Then on offhand, I've got a Spirit Monarch, just because I have enough strength for using the Archon Plate Enigma, so I'm using a Spirit Monarch. And then also a Call to Arms. Now, this is a bit of a sad point, is I rolled this one myself, and as you can see, it got a 411, which is a, you know, shocking roll for this item, and I'm really disappointed with that, but it still is great for what it adds to your character, even with that terrible roll. Um, for charms, I need a paladin torch. I'm using my druid's one at the moment, and then the rest of my charms are just either resist. That's the one faster hit recovery one I need, which in addition to the two dreams give me the faster hit recovery breakpoint that I want, which is 50. And then the rest are just attack rating, max damage, some res charms. So overall, I've also got a Geeds, just to give me that slight edge on magic find. You can see the magic find at the moment is on 159. Could be a bit better, I think, with War Travs. I think running around 200 would be great. Got the 70% increased attack speed breakpoint to hit those frames with Zeal. And yeah, that basically sums up the items for the build. There are areas where you can improve, and also where you can tailor it more specifically to your needs. So I would like a better ring. I might go with High Lords for more physical damage instead of Maras. We'll see about that, and then the Grief would be great for me. And maybe some more magic find in my charm selection. And yeah, then I think it would be a bit more of an ideal setup. I'm probably also going to trade my Archon Plate Enigma for Mage Plate 1 so that I can use less strength and then pump more into Vitality for more survivability. So then, for how this build works, if we just have a look at the skills here, you don't have to put anything into Holy Shock, because as we've shown, that comes from our Dual Dream setup. So no points into Holy Shock, but what you do want is your Conviction to at least get to minus 50 all res. So mine's at a base level of 20, and then with battle orders and whatever else I have on, it gets to minus 150, which is what you want. So under offensive auras, you basically just want to max conviction. So you can also run an infinity on this build, and then don't put any points in conviction, and then you can run a fanaticism. Again, that's just in the variations of how you want to run this particular build, and like I said, there's many ways to do it, which makes it quite an exciting character to build. So I put 20 points into conviction to get me to that 150 minus enemy resistances, and just the prerequisites to get to that in the offensive auras, nothing else is needed. Then for defensive auras, I have put 20 into resist lightning and 20 into salvation. And what this does is synergize into the Holy Shock. You don't see it on paper here, but that adds a lot of damage to your Holy Shock. Then for combat skills, I've just gone prereqs to get 1 point in Holy Shield to give you that better blocking chance and also the defense bonus. And then Zeal is your attack that you add as your sort of like that. It's your attacks are split between physical, which would come from Zeal, and between your Holy Shock aura. And you can, like I said, tailor this build more into a physical base build or more into a elemental base build on your Holy Shock aura. Now, specifically for Zeal, I've just put 1 base point into it for the moment, so that with my plus skills it gets to 5 hits. And then I've max sacrifice because, as you can see, a sacrifice gives 12% damage per level, and it's much better just to put the points you need into Zeal and max sacrifice, and then you can dump points into Zeal afterwards to get better attack rating and that. So yeah, you can basically tailor this around what you're going to be focusing more on, your lightning damage or your physical damage. And for the defensive auras, I've just put 1 into prereqs to get redemption for when I need it for mana and life. And then also cleansing, 1 point in there is really useful for bail running when you are poisoned from the second wave and you want to get rid of that, and also the curses that are put on you, you can use this. So it's a little 1 point wonder there that I find useful, and I don't need that many points into Zeal, and I've got a couple levels still to go, so that's fine for me. So that's the basic skill setup, is maxing conviction and maxing out your resist lightning and your salvation. These are the 2 most important ones for this build, and then depending how you set up, you max your conviction, and then you are going to want to point in Holy Shield. Charge is also useful, Smite if you're doing Ubers. And then Zeal will be your main physical attack, and Sacrifice just gives that a lot more damage. So with that, I'm just going to give you a bit of a gameplay run through with this build. And like I said, it's not completely finished, but it's still an extremely powerful build, even though it is a bit expensive. So far for me, I'm finding it one of the funner builds that I've played in D2R or Diablo 2 Resurrected so far. Just make sure to put on your battle orders and your battle command, and then your holy shield, and teleport away. Yeah, oh, an elite pack. There is an elite pack, and you can see here that your aura does a lot of damage on its own, and whilst that is ticking off its damage per second, you are using zeal to take out either the elite or, you know, the stronger monster in the pack. And it's overall, I think it's a really fun build because of the AoE that you get from your aura. Another name for this paladin, or this type of paladin, is an auradin. And yeah, you can just see that the damage output is great, and you've got that combination where you're doing physical damage, you're doing elemental damage, and you're reducing the elemental resistances of your enemies, and that just overall makes you able to do any content in the game. I mean, this character with a couple item swaps like Dracs and maybe G, oh well, you can't use G-Face on this particular build, but yeah, basically using arachs and then some more defensive options, you can do Ubers with this build as well. So there really isn't any content in Diablo 2 that you can't do with this build, which I think is great, that a lot of other heroes lack. So with this playstyle, basically you teleport to where you need to be, and then you put back your conviction aura to get that extra damage and that minus defenses or minus resistances to your enemies, and then you just run around using zeal whilst your aura does most of the rest of your damage. You can see, even though these are lightning resistant enemies, your conviction aura takes them out. And like I said, this build is not in any way complete. There's still a far way for me to go, which I'm excited about, but it still does a great amount of damage. And a lot of people will say that this is the ultimate player versus monster or PVM build in Diablo 2 because of its area damage as well as its single target damage. And I think that's one thing that's nice about it, is it's got such a great balance of both, and depending how you build the character, you can do both of those types of damages really effectively. So your area damage is great, and your single target, as you can see, is also great. I mean, you'll probably see that in more detail when we fight bosses. Just gonna do my battle orders and battle command again. Also get up my holy shield. Been talking away and not focusing on what I'm doing here. But yeah, this is a... I don't think I hit that seal. This build is great in all aspects, defensively, offensively, and it's just got a great sort of balance to it that I think many other Diablo heroes lack. But then also, that's an ethereal thresher that could be quite useful. And I've just dropped these on the floor here. Don't have my cube with me. That is nice. We'll see how many sockets that gets. Let's see if I have any space here, though. That, I think, is the next issue. Then, not really going to use that. That is definitely not used. Got a lot of rubbish in there. So an ethereal thresher is a great base for your mercenary weapons. That's one thing I did forget to run through earlier. I am using an ethereal Reaper's Toll on my mercenary, also a vamp gaze for the life stolen and the damage reduction. It's a great mercenary helm. And then also a treachery and an ethereal wire fleece. The fade that it casts on your follower is great, and the attack speed and hit recovery, it's just all around a great armor. You can use an Act 1 Mercenary with Faith to get Fanaticism on your Tesladin. That's ultimately what I'm going to be going for. Or, like I said, you can also use Infinity on this build. So that Thresher, like I showed you now, is a great base for a Mercenary weapon. So let's jump into the action here again, and you can just see how strong this Tesladin is doing. He's really just plowing through this Chaos Sanctuary. I mean, basically, even with the setup that I have at the moment, you can do sub 3.5 minute Chaos Sanctuary runs, and the character does just fine at that. His MF, like I said, isn't the highest at the moment, but there is room for improvement, and I think you can balance a lot of fun and doing a melee class character with some good MF with this build, which is rare because in D2 there aren't many melee based builds that can actually magic find as well. Excuse me. Put on Convection and let's see Diablo crumble. So as you can see, his boss damage is really good, and with a better weapon like Grief or Last Wish, it can only get better. Yeah, Last Wish would be absolutely awesome for this build, because you get the magic find, you get the might aura, you get the crushing blow, a lot of damage. There's just so much going on with that weapon that would just be ultimate for this. But the price is what sort of comes into play there and puts it just out of reach for most people. I'm gonna actually just teleport through a lot of this, especially because there's souls, and just go straight to Bale just to show you a bit of gameplay on how he does on a players 1 Bale run. And this is on Battle.net, it's not single player, so it's only on players 1 at the moment. But this character also is great on, you know, cooperative play with more people in the game, and it's such a strong build that, you know, even on players 8 it can solo things itself really easily. So with all the positives that this build has, I would say the most apparent negative is the price of the build, or the cost of the build, and that comes from the Jar Rune in the Dream, or the Jar Rune in each of them, and then Enigma as well as then Grief or Last Wish, or whatever you'd like to go with there. It is expensive, it's not sort of a early ladder starting build, it's not you know, budget friendly in any way, but what it does make up for in that regard is just its overall capability, and how fun the build is, and how diverse you can spec it, or diversely you can spec it, because I mean, it would be a whole nother video and a whole nother story to show you all the different ways that you can build this character. And that's really, I think, what I look for in a character, is not just having this cookie cutter, only one way to do it, you need this item in this slot, and that's how it has to be sort of way. Yeah, so, I mean, it is expensive, and that's probably its biggest fallback, but it is very fun, very powerful, and very diverse in how you can make it. I think at the moment, now that we're sort of 2 months into Diablo 2 Resurrected, a lot of people are going for this build because of how good it is, and because they finally farmed enough wealth to actually make this build, which is how I got to this point as well. I actually haven't done a Tesladin before in the past, but I really wanted to do one now in Diablo 2 Resurrected because it's an awesome build. And now I can, through lots of farming and getting the right runes to trade and the right items to trade, to get what I needed here. So as you can see from that first pack on this Bale Wave, they go down very easily, very quickly. You can see that Holy Shock aura coming into play there, just taking out all the lesser mobs very quickly. So yeah, I just switched to cleansing to get rid of my poison faster. We'll switch back. That seemed to take longer than usual there, but either way, it worked out. Superior Royal Shield. Bad. I feel like there's not a lot of content in this game that poses any sort of a threat to the Tesladin. I would like to try him on Ubers as soon as I can. Just need to farm the keys to do so, and then I'll definitely be making a video of that. I'll also be posting some more content of some of the other builds that I've done up until this point. Basically, I started out with a Sorc or Sorceress like everyone does, just to get magic finding as soon as possible. And from there I got the runes for Enigma, made my own Enigma, and that just opened up all the other heroes for farming for me, and that's where I did my Druid and my Poison Necro and now my Tesladin. Did a Uber Paladin, also a Whirlwind Barbarian. So all of those I will showcase at some point as well. No exciting drops there, but as you can see, that was no problem for the Tesladin. Very cool character, looks very awesome, performs very awesome. You can see all those auras going on, the fade on the Merc. Ultimately, it is a build that I would highly recommend. If you have the means to do it, I would definitely recommend trying it out. It's a very different playstyle and a very fun playstyle compared to a lot of other heroes. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative, and if you liked it, please share it or give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. Peace.